The world watched in disbelief as the flames of war ignited once more. On September 1st, 1939, the German Wehrmacht unleashed its fury upon Poland. This act shattered the fragile peace in Europe, plunging the world into unprecedented conflict. The seeds of this war were sown years earlier, amidst the ashes of a previous war and economic turmoil. The Treaty of Versailles, meant for peace, instead sowed resentment and instability. Germany, burdened by reparations and losses, became fertile ground for extremist ideologies. Hitler and his Nazi party capitalized on fear and uncertainty, promising revival and prosperity. Hitler's ascent in 1933 marked a turning point in history. Driven by racial superiority and expansion, Hitler embarked on rearmament and aggression. The League of Nations proved powerless to stop him. The world watched with bated breath, hoping against hope that war could be averted. But the drums of war were beating louder, and the world braced itself for the inevitable. The world at war became a stark tapestry of alliances, dividing nations based on shared ideologies and ambitions. On one side stood the Axis powers, a coalition forged in ambition and bound by a shared thirst for power and expansion. Germany, under Adolf Hitler, led this alliance with its military might. Alongside Germany was fascist Italy led by Benito Mussolini. Completing the Axis was Imperial Japan, driven by militarism. Facing them were the Allied forces united by a common enemy. Great Britain, led by Winston Churchill, stood at the heart of this alliance. The United States, initially hesitant, joined the Allies, turning the tide of the war. Adolf Hitler, a name synonymous with evil and barbarity, remains one of the most enigmatic figures in human history. Born in Austria in 1889, Hitler's early life was marked by disappointment and failure. He nurtured a deep resentment towards the Treaty of Versailles, which he believed had unjustly punished Germany after World War I. This resentment, coupled with his fanatical nationalism and twisted ideology of racial purity, formed the bedrock of his worldview. Hitler's rise to power was as swift as it was terrifying. Exploiting the economic turmoil and political instability that gripped Germany in the wake of the Great Depression, Hitler and his Nazi party tapped into the anxieties of a nation yearning for a return to greatness. Through a potent mix of propaganda, intimidation and violence, the Nazis systematically dismantled the Weimar Republic, Germany's fragile democracy, and established a totalitarian state. As the storm clouds of war gathered over Europe, one man stood defiant, a beacon of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. Winston Churchill, a man of unwavering resolve and unyielding courage, embodied the spirit of resistance that would ultimately lead the Allied forces to victory. Born into a life of privilege, Churchill possessed a deep understanding of history and a keen awareness of the dangers posed by Nazi Germany. From the outset, Churchill recognized the grave threat posed by Hitler and his regime. While others sought appeasement, Churchill urged vigilance and preparedness, warning that appeasement would only embolden the Nazi dictator. When war finally erupted, Churchill, appointed Prime Minister in May 1940, rallied the British people with his stirring rhetoric and unwavering determination. He vowed to fight on, whatever the cost, declaring, "We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender." The skies over London turned a terrifying shade of crimson as wave after wave of German bombers rained down death and destruction upon the city below. The Blitz, as this sustained aerial bombardment came to be known, was a brutal and terrifying chapter in World War II, a testament to the horrors of modern warfare. Night after night, the drone of enemy aircraft filled the air, their payloads of high explosives and incendiaries reducing entire neighborhoods to rubble. The Blitz, which lasted for 76 consecutive nights and continued sporadically for months afterward, was a deliberate attempt by the German Luftwaffe to break the spirit of the British people. London, the heart of the British Empire, was to be brought to its knees through terror and destruction. Yet, the Blitz had the opposite effect. Instead of breaking the spirit of the British people, it only served to strengthen their resolve. The vast expanse of the Eastern Front became a cauldron of unimaginable violence and suffering, a battleground where millions of soldiers clashed in a struggle of unparalleled ferocity. Here, the Wehrmacht, initially confident of a swift victory, encountered an enemy unlike any it had faced before, the Red Army of the Soviet Union. Driven by a burning hatred for the invaders and fueled by an almost inexhaustible supply of manpower and resources, the Red Army fought with a tenacity and determination that surprised even the most battle-hardened German soldiers. The Battle of Stalingrad, a brutal six-month siege that raged from August 1942 to February 1943, became a turning point in the war, a testament to the human cost of conflict and the resilience of the human spirit. The battle, fought street by street and house by house amidst the ruins of a once great city, resulted in an estimated 2 million casualties, making it one of the deadliest battles in human history. Section 7. Turning the tide from D-Day to the liberation of Europe. The tide of war, which had for so long seemed to favour the Axis powers, began to turn on June 6, 1944, with the D-Day landings in Normandy, France. This daring amphibious assault, the largest in history, marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany's grip on Western Europe. Under the cover of darkness and a relentless aerial bombardment, Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy, facing fierce resistance from the entrenched German defenders. The Battle of Normandy, which raged for weeks after the initial landings, was a grueling and costly campaign, but it marked a turning point in the war. With the liberation of France, Allied forces began their advance towards the German heartland, liberating occupied countries and pushing the remnants of the Wehrmacht back towards Berlin. Section 8. The Pacific Theatre, a war of island hopping and atomic fury. While the war raged in Europe, a different kind of conflict unfolded in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Here, the United States and its allies faced a determined and resourceful enemy in the Empire of Japan. The Pacific War was a clash of cultures and ideologies, a brutal struggle for control of strategic islands and vital sea lanes. The Pacific War was characterized by its brutality and its reliance on naval and air power. The United States, employing a strategy of island hopping, gradually pushed back the Japanese, capturing key islands and establishing air bases from which to launch bombing raids on the Japanese mainland. The dropping of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 brought a swift and controversial end to the war in the Pacific, ushering in the atomic age and casting a long shadow over the post-war world. Section 9. A World in Ruins, the Aftermath and Legacy of World War II. As the guns fell silent and the world emerged from the ashes of World War II, it became clear that the conflict had reshaped the geopolitical landscape and left an indelible mark on human history. The war had claimed the lives of an estimated 40 to 85 million people, leaving countless others wounded, displaced and traumatized. Entire cities lay in ruins, economies were shattered, and the world grappled with the horrors it had witnessed. In the aftermath of the war, the victorious Allied powers established the United Nations, an international organization tasked with maintaining peace and security, preventing future conflicts, and promoting international cooperation. The war also marked the beginning of the Cold War, a geopolitical rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union that would shape the latter half of the 20th century. Section 10. Echoes of the Past. Lessons learned and the importance of remembrance. World War II, a conflict of unprecedented scale and devastation, stands as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the enduring power of hatred and intolerance. The lessons learned from this global conflagration continue to resonate today, urging us to vigilance against the forces of extremism, authoritarianism and aggression. The stories of those who lived through World War II, both on the battlefields and on the home front, serve as powerful reminders of the human cost of conflict and the importance of preserving peace. As we remember the sacrifices of those who fought and died in this global struggle, we must also reaffirm our commitment to building a more peaceful and just world, a world where the horrors of World War II are never repeated.